In the last video, at the end, I was talking about giving yourself grace. And one of the things that is the hardest for me is to give myself grace because I have been through so many experiences in life. Many negative ones, and several really incredible ones. Several that, nobody would imagine. And so to have one is great, but to have more than one is pretty remarkable. And because of those, I often tell myself that, of course you're strong, like, of course you understand all of this. And of course, you know better. And of course, you even know that, like, you chose all this, you created all of this. And that, even the things that, like, I didn't choose to happen to me, as far as my circumstances go, they are there because I gave them the ability to be. And by that I mean that, when you are married or you're in a partnership, or you love somebody, then you give them power over your reality, And the longer that you're together, the more power they have, just by, you know, osmosis. It just, like, because you meld together, your lives really, you know at the roots, they're connected, even if day to day, like, things are not, um you're apart a lot or don't see them a lot. The roots are actually, really deeply connected. So in that case, they have some power over your reality, but still you gave them that. And it's natural. It's not a criticism in any way, but it is what it is. And for me, that was kind of, that was the thing. That was, I guess, the thing that, like, maybe I considered coming, or I don't know if I felt it. And it's not something I feel like I should have seen coming, but it's the thing that happened that most, um, that I had dealt with already, and I thought was, like, because that was the most important thing for me. So that was the thing that I dealt with first. And then, in the end, the reality of everything was different than what anyone involved really expected, I guess. And so it ended up being, the straw that broke the camel's back, for me. But at the same time, whenever something happens, it's making room for what is new. And in my situation in particular, um, there's no, there's no villain in the story. Um, and even if there were, I would know better than to know anyone was the villain. But there's no villain. Um, and it's just like, you love somebody and you want them to be happy. And unconditional love means that if they're happier without you, then you will give them that. And know that it is also the best for you, or it wouldn't be happening. And then you just face it along with everything else that you have been preparing for and working toward for the rest of the year. So, you know, the point is just give yourself some grace and remember that, like, you know, it doesn't matter if you've been through it before, and it doesn't matter if it's, your fault or the results of your choices or the power you gave someone else. Just remember that you still deserve grace. Just because you chose, I said in the last video, you can have trauma even, yeah, it must have been the last video. You can have trauma even over something you chose, even over something you want. So, when you can't sustain some days, or you can't get motivation and you can't get out of bed or you can't look for that job or, whatever it is, you have to give yourself some grace and some time to heal. Because until you get on the healing track, you don't have to be totally healed, but until you're firmly on the track of healing, the new will not come in. It is not trying to be tainted by the old. And in my case, it's like resetting a movie set. And like I've gone away to go, they got to strike the set and it's going to take whatever time to put the new one in, and that I've just like been put away. And some days it's just really, really difficult. It's really difficult to even consider the past in any way. Career, relationships, money, security, any of it. It's like it's can be just so daunting and overwhelming. But I wouldn't go back to any of it. I know that there's, I didn't have to get to this place to know there was something better for me. I already knew it back then. That's why it all had to be given up and surrendered. And item by item, I was faced with the harshest of realities to finally see this is, this is not acceptable through this perspective. This is not acceptable when I honor myself. This is not, tenable. This situation cannot endure. I can't do this anymore, So, but that's still traumatic. It doesn't make it easy just because you chose it or just because you know better. Just because you know you're in this middle phase doesn't mean you are not absolutely, in at least a small way, just crapping your pants because you have no idea for sure. All you have is your faith. All you have is everything you've ever witnessed and ever seen. And then again, I said in the last video too, and maybe the first video, the tiniest little. The last videos were a 2-part. So in the first half, I said there was a tiny glimpse, and I showed the camera. It was like a tiny glimpse that what I've been working toward reflecting in my reality is working. And otherwise, it's just been a lot of go, go, go. But I've lived long enough to know, and here's the thing, if you haven't, if this is your first breakup or job loss or big, difficult event in life, just know that it is clearing space for something better. And all of you watching that have been through these difficult events in life, you know, when you know, lost the job or the relationship, you ended up with a better job or a better relationship. Or maybe you're not there yet, or maybe you don't want a relationship because you're focused on your own growth. Whatever it is, you were better off every time you went through something that made you cry on the bus in the middle of the day. You were better every time, every single time. And so if it's your first time, hear me loud and clear. And if it's your 15th time, hear me loud and clear. You are going to be better for this. All these confirmation dings in the background. I haven't got a single text message all day. And now suddenly I'm the most popular guy. So those are all confirmation dings because that's what it is. You are going to be better. I'm going to be better. What I often speak to my guides and my angels about is I tell them, like, do you know what it's like to be human, though? Do you know what it's like to be a human being on Earth and be in the unknowing, be in the tunnel, as I talked about earlier, that you're being guided with your new perspective through this tunnel from one point to the other. And some track of thought, as you're being guided, I really lost my track of thought. So back to the confirmation dings. You're going to be better. Oh, that's what I was saying to my angels. Yeah, that like, do you understand what it's like? That even if I know better and spiritually, like I'm calm and patient and ready to receive in divine right timing, and I totally believe that. I totally believe it. Everything, there are no coincidences. I believe in the fabric of the way that humans are here, crossing each other's paths and guiding and teaching and helping each other. But I asked them, do you know what this is like? Because I feel afraid. Like I feel afraid. I feel afraid that, like, if I knew I was on a temporary vacation, this is the most text messages I've received in a week, all in this moments. I can't imagine who this is. If I knew that the time was limited, then it would be a lot easier to relax and to heal and to focus on my healing and to share the stories because I'm able to motivate myself to do it. But the knowing and the experience, they don't overcome all circumstances. So if you've been through stuff, you know that like you use these coping mechanisms that you've learned, and hopefully they're healthy ones and they allow you to heal quickly, depending on how many tragedies or traumas you've been through in life. But, not everybody has those, even if they've been through a lot of traumas. So it would take work to have them. But either way, you know how to like if you've been broken up before and now you broke up, you know how to deal with it this time better, and it's probably different and deeper in some ways, but it also in some ways requires the same, you know. you just have to, again, as I keep saying, like, give yourself some grace. Remember that you're going through trauma. And anyway, my angels, I've never really gotten any download from asking them if they have any idea what it's really like here. And this time for me, it's like, it's so hard because it's like, it's just everything, it's everything. And then I'm a foreigner in a place that I definitely want to stay and that I love, and that I was in before I created the life that I had. Um, and I want to stay in now. When I came and created a life here, I had some more resources and some easier opportunities based on the market and the way it's changed. And so that made a big difference in alleviating a lot of the fear and anxiety. And this time, I really don't have anything. I don't have anything. So, except my clothes. And, time is running out. And so, it just, it feels like a pressure cooker. But then, you realize that things always end up better. And so you just keep, doing what you know to do. But I can also see that like the typical like boxes aren't opening for me right now. And I believe it's because the other amazing stuff is coming in and that it's done. That's the whole point of like making these videos, is to document what it's like to surrender everything willingly, and then even, surrender what you weren't willing to give up, but in a willing way, because somebody else wants it and you are going to, one, support what makes them happiest, and two, you know that this was the last grain of reality from your old life, and that in order for the new to come in, it's being called to be surrendered. So it's like on both sides, you have to just face the pain and the work of letting go. But you're in trauma and you have to accept that some days are good days and some days are a little bit more challenging. There are some bad hours on those days or bad minutes, but nothing is a bad day, and that everything is aligning in your favor. I've never known anybody, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that like everything has happened to, especially in 2025, as we have entered this mass awakening of humanity at this time. I'm sure other people have gone through it. I've just never heard it. And so I think that making the videos is a great way to like document it. And if anybody needs to hear it or it's meant to be heard, the right people will be led to it and understand that like the process is excruciating, because everything that we know and understand about life has been programmed into us by the people that came before us.